Cool and cold.
Cool and cold. Wow, that's is it normal in the winter? Does it get cold over there?
Yes, it's somehow semi-desert here, called
Mm-hmm.
Badia, if you know the word.
Mm-hmm.
So it's hot in uh, the noon, and in the morning it will be cold somehow.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe
Interesting.
some. Also, maybe cold is subjective, um,
Uh-huh.
or it's not. Maybe it's not the word, not subjective. It's could be cold here, but for us, for example, but for others it's hot.
Possibly, yeah. Well, what's the temperature right now over there?
I think it's about 15
15. Wow.
Celsius.
Uh-huh. Yeah, 15 Celsius is approximately maybe 50, 55 Fahrenheit, I think, maybe something around 55 Fahrenheit. That's
I
yeah,
don't know.
it's a little chilly. It's a little chilly, definitely.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah, definitely. But for us, cold. When we say cold, we mean -10, -15 Celsius.
Uh-huh. So
To
it's
us, that's
relative.
cold. Yes, absolutely. It's very relative. Yeah. For us, it can get extremely cold here, so it's always a challenge for us in the winter,
Hmm.
in the cold months. December and January, especially, are the worst. November is still relatively normal for most places.
Hmm.
Uh, yeah. Hey, Mariella, welcome back. Good to see you again. Mariella, are you there?
Hi,
Yeah, just
sorry.
saying hi. Yeah, no, that's
Uh,
fine. Just saying hi again. Yeah, good to
hi
see
again.
you. Yeah, yeah. Thanks for
Nice to
joining
see you
again.
other time.
Exactly. All right, so we're going to be just waiting a couple more minutes, guys. But before we get started, I wanted to talk a little bit about the lesson for today. So today, in today's lesson, we are going to be looking at the third conditional, actually. So in the last lesson, Mariella, we were looking at the second conditional. In this lesson, we are looking at the third conditional, which we use for specific reasons. Actually, the third conditional has a specific reason. And we use it when we are talking about when we regret something about the past, when we are sorry about something that happened in the past. So there's a special construction, there's a special way that we use it, but generally it is used when we are talking about something in the past that we are sorry about, that we want to express regret, right? So one way that we can think about this, for example, is I can say to somebody, right? Let's say somebody was sick, right? Somebody suddenly fell very sick, and I had no idea that they were sick, right? When I see them, what can I say to them? I can say something like, "Hey, if I had known that you were sick, I would have come and said hello to you. I would have visited you, right? If I had known that you were sick, I would have visited you, right?" So I feel bad. I'm sorry that I didn't know, right? As a result, I didn't visit that person. So we use that third conditional to talk about things that happened in the past that we don't have any control over, but that we feel sorry about, right? We feel sorry about the situation, why it happened, right? So the construction that we use for the third conditional is actually we use the word if, and then we use any subject, right? If I, if you, if he, if she, and then we say had. If I had, okay? And then we use a past participle, which is the form of a verb, like for the verb know, it's known. For the verb eat, it's eaten, right? This is an advanced class, so we're actually looking at some of the more advanced grammar, right? So we have if, a subject, had, and then a past participle, right? And then in the second part, we have the subject again, and then would have, and then another past participle. So it's very focused on the past participle, this construction, right? If I had known that you were sick, I would have visited you, right? Known and visited are both past participles. The rest of the sentence is pretty normal. If the subject had, then again the subject would have, past participle, right? So, any questions, guys, on this, on the beginning, the construction of this third conditional before we move on?
What is the name of this construction?
It's called a third conditional.
Third conditional. Okay.
Yeah, so
Perfect.
before, in the
Thank you.
last class, we looked at the second conditional. This one is the third conditional. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So there's a little bit of difference between those two types, right? ID, do you have any questions?
No, but a comment.
Sure.
The conditionals for one of my weaknesses. Most of the time when I speak, I know the rules, but most of the time I will use the first conditional, even for when I want to say the second and third for the function of the when the situation is needs to use the second and third conditionals.
Mm-hmm. No, it's
For
understandable.
Yeah, for most of the time, I use the first conditional even in the wrong situation.
Yeah, you know, it happens. It happens. The conditionals are actually, we use them subconsciously in English, right? Native speakers, we don't really realize when we are using which type. I myself didn't know what was first, second, or third until I started teaching and really learning this stuff myself, right? Native speakers, we don't really know what we are saying until we, you know, maybe make a mistake and somebody tells us, or until we learn about what the conditionals actually are, right? So it makes complete sense. And if you have any questions, as always, ID, let me know. You know.
Okay.
So guys, I have a question for you, right? If you found out that it was somebody's birthday, and you didn't go to their, you know, to their birthday party, right? What could you say to them using the third conditional? Let's start with ID. ID, let's say a very good friend of yours had a birthday party, right? You had no idea, or you completely forgot something happened, right? How could you use the third conditional to describe the situation?
Um, uh, um, I would have attended your party if I had known the date.
Fantastic, fantastic. There you go, Heidi. That's a great example, right? I would have attended your party if I had known the date, right? Or the exact opposite would be if we put the if at the beginning and the would have in the end. It's the same meaning. There's no problem, right? If I had known the date, I would have attended your party, right? I would have attended the party if I had known the date. Fantastic. That's the third conditional. There's really no difference to it, right? So you think about regret of something that happened in the past. That's the main idea. You feel sorry about something that happened in the past, right? So, Mariella, what would you do if it was someone's birthday and you had no idea? What could you say to that person?
If my sister had been here, she would have enjoyed this. Is third conditional?
She would have enjoyed this third conditional lesson, you mean?
This birthday party?
Oh, this party. I was gonna say, okay, yeah, not the lesson.
If my sister had been here,
Uh-huh.
if my sister had been here, she would have enjoyed this birthday party.
Fantastic, fantastic. If my sister had been here, she would have enjoyed this birthday party. Fantastic, right? That's all we're looking at, guys. That's all we're looking at, right? The third conditional is about regret in the past, right? And just like we heard from ID, you can switch the order. You can switch the order, right? I would have attended the birthday party if I had known the date, right? It makes no difference. Both of those are correct, guys. So, any questions, guys, about the third conditional, the way we construct it? Any other examples maybe that you guys need to help you guys understand the idea?
No questions.
It makes sense?
No, but I have learned. Okay, sorry.
Go ahead, guys. Mariella, I think you were saying something. I'm sorry.
Sorry?
I thought you were saying something, Mariella. I'm sorry. I was waiting for you to finish. Nothing.
No questions.
No questions? Okay.
No question make me sense all that you say.
Fantastic. Great. Everything made sense. Great. Adi, I'm sorry. What were you saying now?
Yeah, I have learned a new word, regret.
Regret. Yeah. So to regret something is to feel bad. Is to feel bad, feel sorry about something, right? Those are all ways that when you regret something, absolutely. So, guys, let's take a look at our lesson today then, right? We are about 14 minutes into class. I think this is actually great timing. We will be able to spend most of the class reading about the article and also looking at the vocabulary words specifically, right? We want to be focusing on the vocabulary words, focusing on the ideas and the meaning of the article as well, right? So today, guys, we are going to be learning about an animal, right, or what we consider as an animal, right? It's almost like it's a fictional animal, and it's called the Chupacabra, right? This Chupacabra is an animal that people think exists, right? It's a monster. It's this fake monster. Nobody really knows what it does, what it is, right? But recently there was news about the Chupacabra coming back from hiding, right? People have seen the Chupacabra, right? So what is the Chupacabra? We're going to learn about this animal and what this is about, right? So let's take a look, guys. There's the article. I'm going to be screen sharing it very soon on my screen so you guys can see it. Let's see what we can hear about this. So the Chupacabra, right? It's an article from National Geographic. Okay. So Chupacabra.
Hello? I can't hear you if you hear me.
I think that the teacher lost the connection or something.
I see. Okay, we will wait for him.
Exactly. Are you Heidi? Heidi.
Hey guys, are you guys there? I'm really sorry. There was a connection problem. I'm trying to figure it out. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, no problem.
Okay, sorry about that, guys. Something was happening. Let us go back to the article, guys. We are talking about La Chupacabra, right? This animal that is maybe God knows what it is, right? So we're going to read about this animal. Let's go back to the article real quick, guys, and I'm going to start looking at it. And I'm not sure where the connection was destroyed, but we will be. I was asking actually. So the title of the article says Chupacabra sighting, right? Sighting means something that is seen, right? An animal that is sighted is an animal that is seen, right? So there was a Chupacabra sighting. Truth behind the mythical beasts, right? What do you guys think mythical means? This word right here, mythical. There's a word in this word actually, right? So the word myth, the word myth, I can't highlight it unfortunately, but the word myth is in this word, right? Have you guys heard of the word myth before? It can maybe help you understand what mythical means.
Mythical, legendary, mythic.
Possibly, right? It's a good guess, right? Mythical, guys, actually means relating to a myth, relating to a legend, relating to an imaginary legend, for example. So something is a myth, for example, dragons are mythical beasts, right? Dragons don't really exist, but they are imaginary, right? Unicorns, those horses with the horn in between on their head, right? Those are mythical beasts, right? Many times in different languages we read different mythologies, right? A mythology is a story about is a fictional story, right? Maybe with animals that can fly and horses that can fly and all sorts of those things. So the chupacabra is another one of these mythical animals. It's a mythical beast, right? It's not a real animal. It's something that has a place in literature, a place in mythology, right? So does that help guys understand this a little bit? Mythology, mythical.
Yes.
It does? Okay. Just making sure, guys. Remember, you guys can always ask me questions, okay? So, a mythical monster has reared its head again, the chupacabra. A family in Picayune, Mississippi has captured a video of a chupacabra recently near their home and posted it online, according to the news station WLOX, right? So, guys, what do you think this verb reared means? A mythical monster has reared its head again. This is actually a phrasal verb. To rear someone's head, or when an animal rears its head. What do you think that means? Any ideas? So maybe you guys are thinking, right? I'll help you guys. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Raise or his head.
Yeah, absolutely. That's exactly right. That's exactly right, Heidi, right? When you rear its head, you raise your head, so you appear, right? You appear in front of others, right? So the animal that people don't know where some animals are, right? Some animals are hiding, some animals are part of this mythology, right? We have never seen a real dragon. We have never seen a horse with wings, right? So just like this, just like those examples, we are talking about a monster that has appeared once again, right? The chupacabra. And this has happened in Mississippi. Mississippi is a state in the southern United States, right? The family soon discovered others had noticed the mysterious animal, including Amanda Denton, who told Jackson's Clarion Ledger, this is a newspaper, "We've been running back and forth to our cars because we didn't want the chupacabra to get us," right? So these people are saying that they saw this animal, this animal right here. It seems like it's a big animal, right? And they were really worried about what is happening, right? In reality, right? In reality, this odd beast poses no threat to humans. It's actually a coyote with mange, right? But do you guys know what mange is? And what a coyote is, actually? Both of these words, right? A coyote is an animal, right? And the chupacabra is not really anything fake. It's just a coyote with mange, right? Have you guys heard of either of these words?
Yes. Sarna is like scabies or illness in the dogs, like they decay the hair of the dogs.
It does, absolutely. Mange is a skin disease, right? It's a skin disease that appears on animals, some animals, especially dogs, right? And a coyote is actually, a coyote is like a wolf, right? It's in the dog family, so it's a larger wolf-like animal, and it has mange, right? So it's an animal with mange. It's not a crazy mythological animal. It's just an animal with mange. So stories of the animal, however, that suck the blood of livestock have exploded in Mexico, right? In the U.S. Southwest, and even in China since the mid-1990s, right? So the chupacabra was first reported in Puerto Rico, right? So people have been talking about this animal for a very long time, since the 1990s. So maybe about 20 years, maybe about 20 years. So that's the only, but in reality, it's just this coyote with mange, right? And people from all over the world, Mexico, China, Puerto Rico, have talked about this animal, right? Any questions, guys, about these two paragraphs? What the Chupacabra actually is?
No questions.
No
I know
questions?
the chupacabras. I see with my own eyes. Nah, it's a
Really?
joke. It's a
I was
joke.
gonna say, it's a mythological animal, right? We can't really,
Exactly.
but
No,
yeah.
but in Mexico, it spread this legend all times that we are uh, across of disruptions of the banks, financial problems in the country, etc., etc.
Yeah, yeah.
It's
And
very
it's
common.
sometimes these legends are very interesting legends, right? Parents tell their children, it becomes something in the culture almost, right? The legend of these animals. But in the example of the chupacabra, it's nothing more than just a coyote with a skin disease, right? So in almost all these cases, however, right, when we hear from Mexico, from Puerto Rico, from China, right, and many different places, the monsters have turned out to be coyotes suffering from a very severe case of mange, right, which is a painful skin disease, and it causes the animal's hairs to fall out, right, all that kind of thing. So for some scientists, this explanation for supposed chupacabras is sufficient, right? Scientists think there's really no explanation necessary. We don't need to care anymore, okay? We know the chupacabras are just these animals that have mange, right? Um, so really, it's I mean, the rest of this article is talking about kind of the reality of how funny it is that people get carried away. Some people, they hear a legend, they hear something amazing, and they believe what they see, right? They think this animal right here, they think it's a chupacabra, right? It looks like a little dog, but it has a skin disease. So the rest of the animal, or the rest of the article is talking about how people get carried away sometimes with these things, right? So that's I wanted to focus on that, guys, in terms of the article, right? What do you guys think about the chupacabra? We heard from Mariela that it's an animal that has been talked about in Mexican culture, definitely. Um, Heidi, I wanted to know: are there animals in Jordanian culture or in the Middle Eastern culture that are considered these imaginary, mythical animals? Animals that are magical animals that maybe the children hear about or you guys say in stories.
Yes, we have what we call the ghul.
Uh-huh. And what's the ghul?
It's something that eat humans. We hear about it when we were childs from our parents as a stories. Um, a lot of them. My grandmother mother was telling such a stories to me when I was child.
Uh-huh.
But I have a comment.
Sure.
I read a news article
Uh-huh.
in a local newspaper that they found a strange animal. I think they have a name in our culture. Uh, it's uh, it's an animal that come from the marriage of wolf and hyena. Hyena,
Uh-huh. A wolf and a hyena. Uh-huh.
yeah, hyena, yeah.
Uh-huh.
I saw its picture. They captured it.
Uh-huh.
It's somehow strange and uh, capuch, chupacabra could be something like this.
Yeah, especially, right? In this example, though, they're saying the chupacabra is really just a very sick coyote, right?
Hmm.
So a coyote is in the family of wolves, family of dogs. It's an animal that, when it sees the moon, it goes, oh, when it sees the moon, it's one of those animals that they go
Yeah.
outside and it's kind of like dogs, right? And unfortunately, these poor animals, right? They are very sick, extremely sick because they have the skin disease. And I don't know how they get this disease, but it's interesting that you mentioned whole ID because we have the same word in English. We call them gowls in English. That's written Ghoul.
Gowl. Uh-huh.
Yeah, it's an English word. It's an English word for a monster.
Hmm.
Yeah, so I think it maybe came from Arabic to English.
Or
Uh,
the opposite.
or the opposite. Yeah, who knows, right? Many different types. And of course, in the Arabic culture, we hear of jinns all the time, right? Jinns are also these not animals, but they are these spirits. You know, in Muslim culture, in Middle Eastern culture, if you guys have read the Thousand and One Nights, a very famous Arabic book, they talk about, in English they say genie, in Arabic they say jinn. So ghouls and jinn, and genies and gals, same idea, right? There's mythological. Actually, in the religion of Islam, jinn are considered that they exist.
Existent. Yes.
Yeah, that they exist, exactly. So they're not considered mythological. They're considered as something that exists. Kind of like the angels. You have the angels, you have the genies, and you have people. So this is
Yes.
an Islamic knowledge. Um, so great, thank you so much, Heidi, for sharing that. Ken, what about mythological animals in Japanese culture? I think there are many. And welcome to class, also, by the way, Ken.
Thank you.
Yeah, good to see you.
Yeah, some animal, yeah, but I'm, for example, the kind of, it's a kind of type of arbor myth, but Ishi, named after, Nessie. The
Really?
lake is Lake Ikeda. Some people, found some mystical animals shadow or something like Nessie. So it's called
Really?
Ishi.
Iki.
Ishi, yeah.
Oh, Ishi, uh-huh.
Yeah.
And what does this animal do? What does it look like? Or
Like Nessie.
no way.
Kind of, dinosaur-like
Oh,
shape.
kind of like a dinosaur.
Shadow kind of thing.
So it's a bigger animal. It's huge.
Could be, if it existed.
If it existed, but it doesn't exist.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. Issy, interesting. Wow, I've never heard of that one before. But I think Japanese culture has a lot of interesting animals and mythology, I think, in Japanese culture.
And some animals, such kind of mystical animal, is influenced by China, like kidding.
What kind of animal is that?
Kidding is came from China, actually, Chinese mythology. Kind of half dragon, half kind of kidding type, giraffe type, Giraffe called kidding in Japanese, so sounds similar. So
a half giraffe and half
half
dinosaur.
dragon.
Oh, half
Dragon.
dragon. Oh, wow.
That's
I know Chinese people love dragons. It's part of their mythology. Yeah.
Maybe Asian people might have seen the, giraffe, and they might create such image in the mythology.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely right. Interesting situation. In Indian culture, guys, I can tell you guys about Indian culture a little bit. My parents are from Bangladesh, near India. There are a lot of mythologies in Hinduism, actually. So the Hinduism, the Hindu religion has a lot of mythology. There's an elephant god called Ganesh. If you guys look up this animal on Google, for example, this animal is an elephant, and it's a god, right? And there is a monkey god. There are many different animals. There's a snake god, right? So in Indian culture, there is a lot of mythology around animals, worshiping animals actually, and using animals for many different kinds of symbols in their culture. Legendary animals also, for example, if you guys know about Iranian culture, in Persia, they have an animal called the homa. The homa is a half dragon and half lion, half eagle. So it has the head of an eagle, but the body of a lion, right? And in many other cultures, we see different kinds of these half animal, half bird kind of mixes, right? And it's very fascinating to see how creative people are with their art and with their history, right? Mariela, what about the chupacabra? So tell us about in Mexico. What is the idea of the chupacabra? If somebody says the chupacabra is here, what do people do, or what's the idea?
in maybe in the 90s, in the 90s
Mm-hmm.
or something,
Uh-huh.
spread this legend, and all people are very worried about, and the suggestion caused massive um idea in
Mm-hmm.
the population in general. And if you see a shadow, you name this immediately chupacabras, wherever that
Really?
will be seen. Yes, but with the time, and this have, and we have a coincidence with economical problems in Mexico.
Mm-hmm.
So the the situation was in the end that all Finnish think that was a tail of the government for to maintain the people um, with this attention in other things and not in the real problems.
Really?
Really.
So the government made this mythological animal, whatever, made it very popular so that people would shift their attention to the animal and not the problems.
Exactly, exactly. But
What?
in Mexico, all the folks, uh, you grow up believing witches, vampires, ghosts.
Kukui, kukui.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Uh, the ancient Aztecs culture
Hmm.
say that about of theater serpent or other gods, like in the Indian culture that have a lot of gods. Very interesting figures, not humans, the majority of times. Um, I feel better when the people reveal their real chupacabras. Was Carlos Salinas de Gortari, an
Really?
ex-president. An
Oh my God.
ex-president. Oh my God, yes. But it's funny for the for for the childrens, for say a tale with the lights on, or out, sorry,
Yeah.
out or something.
Keep the lights off or keep the lights out. Yeah, both of those work,
Off,
right?
exactly.
Yeah. And
Turn off,
there's
exactly.
turn off the lights. Yeah, one of my friends, he is from Mexico. He told me that when he was a child, his mom would say, "If you don't go to sleep now, the cucuy will come."
Exactly.
Right?
We grow up believe that witches sucks your blood when you dream. So
Really?
really, and for example, in 1 and 2 of November last,
Uh-huh.
it's a very big party.
Mm-hmm.
It's a mix of Halloween in United States, but with ancient ideas about of the die people regrets, come back to eat the food that you leave in a table, especially this day.
Uh-huh. It's actually, so what Mariella is talking about, guys, is in English we call it the Day of the Dead. It's in Spanish they call it El Día de los Muertos, and
Exactly.
it's a special day. Just like Mariella was saying, it's a special day when the people who have died, it's believed in Mexican culture that their spirits come back from the dead, and all the families prepare a table of food for them, prepare a lot of food like bread, different kinds of sweets to invite these dead spirits home. And I think people also wear costumes, and the skull is a very important symbol during this time, I think, right? The skeletons and skulls are used a lot in uh, the Mexican celebration of the Day of the Dead. So Yeah. And what's the kukui? Marielle, if you could share with us what the kukui is. This other animal, like the chupacabra, the kukui.
And it's well, it's different in different states of the Mexican Republican.
Uh-huh.
So for me, it's the coco, el coco,
El coco. Uh-huh.
and it's el coco. Never know what is the coco, but you grow up afraid of this, especially when you go to sleep.
Yeah.
And if you don't go to sleep, the mama says this for you take attention to his orders. It's more
Yeah.
like that.
It's so kids get scared by by the smallest things, right? If the mother says something like, "If you don't do this, the kukui will get you," right?
Exactly. For me, was
Yeah.
maybe a big man that stole the children's or something like that.
Yeah, yeah. And maybe, sometimes we've all heard of witches, right? So in the US and in Western stories, mythology, we have like the story of the Little Red Riding Hood, right? The wolf ate the grandmother and was hiding in the bed for the girl to come.
Sorry, the boogeyman. It's the same like the boogeyman,
The
the coco.
boogeyman, the Coco,
No?
yeah, some monster guy with maybe blood and a big something. Yeah, it's a scary person, right? It's a scary monster. So guys, we're gonna have some fun with this, right? Let's say what if you had been, what if you had come face to face with one of these chupacabras or boogeymans or something, right? Let's say you are outside at night, right? And you see this animal, it just comes in front of you and you don't know what it is. Maybe it's a coyote with mange, maybe it's a different animal, you don't know what it is, right? What would you do? If you had known that it was not, if you had not known that it was just an animal that was sick, what would you have done? I mean, Heidi, what would you have done if you saw this animal just walking down the street, or you're walking down the street, it's late at night, it's dark, you see this different animal, would you be scared? What would you do?
For sure, yeah, I will be. But I'm not sure what I will do. Uh, Taking a decision is hard because some animals, when you run, will follow you.
Yeah.
But if you stay in your place, it will go away. I have this idea about some animals, but I'm not sure about such an animal. But maybe, as in the article, I will run to my car.
Run to your car, just run away as fast as you can, right? And
Yeah.
it's sad because sometimes people don't focus on the reality of what they're seeing. They get worried. Their emotions become. I mean, it's part of being human, right? When you're scared, we have that fight or flight mentality. This is actually something we say a lot in English, right? So we use this phrase, fight or flight, to say that when you are in shock, something happens, right? From an evolutionary perspective, scientists say that humans have two instincts at that point. They can either fight, so if they see something dangerous, they can fight that danger, or they can flee. They can flee away, or they will flight. Or flight means to leave, right? Very quickly, or they can flee from that problem. So any kind of dangerous situation, right? You come to a house that all of a sudden the house turns to fire. What do you do, right? So you see a fire, you see a dangerous animal, you see something in front of you, maybe a dangerous person, right? What do you do? Do you fight him or do you run away, right? It's that decision, it's that human decision that takes place, in our minds, instinct by instinct, right? You do certain things without even realizing that you're doing them, subconsciously, right? So Adi would run to his car. What about Ken? What would happen if you saw a chupacabra or an issy or a killin? What would you do?
Yeah, it's not animal, but I thought I saw the UFO
You
kind of.
thought you saw a UFO.
Yeah, when at home I was coming back to my home by bicycle that day, and a strange dot appeared in the cloud sky. and that movement is pretty irregular. It's if the airplane or such kind of thing flies straight, but that dot uh, move irregularly. So I thought, wow, I saw the UFO, and I was excited. And the next day, I found the news. UFO incident happened in my town. Many people, maybe some people or many people called police. What it is, and it was a searchlight from the newly opened gambling place. So it was not only me, some people, maybe many people misunderstood that was a UFO because it was
Yeah.
like exactly the same image I saw on the TV or the
Yeah.
movie
All
about
those movies
UFO.
about UFOs, exactly
Yeah.
right. You have that flying saucer, it's floating in the sky, and it descends or it goes up and down. Yeah, it's crazy, and it's just coming from a light from a casino, right? Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, it's crazy. Sometimes, there are so many stories of these kinds of things, Like I was saying, in the in the Muslim culture, they have so many stories about genies, right? Genies can do these crazy things, and it's that's why we see, for example, in Western culture, Aladdin has his genie, right? Aladdin has his genie that can give him wishes, or he has 3 wishes, and he can choose any 3 wishes, and he can bring whatever things he wants to him, things like that, right? It's kind of crazy what we see with mythology. Um, and so yeah, Mariella, what would you do if you saw the chupacabra suddenly, maybe on a street or some crazy animal? If you had not known that it was a chupacabra, what would you have done?
Okay. In first, I want to do a, an opinion
Sure, sure.
about of the animals uh, with illness in the street, because it's a problem, and we are humans, so it's supposed that we go to help there or something, to carry or veterinary or medical specialist or something. The other
Yeah.
the other question is about of what could I do if I see the chupacabras. Maybe in first I am very sure that I was wonder or scary or something, and then
Yeah.
I am very sure that I take measures for to solve this problem. One time, I am very sure that I see an ovni, and I believe in extraterrestrial entities. So the first was to run for my camera, etc.
Uh-huh.
If I see the chupacabras, it's the same reaction. To run for my camera, and I am very sure that was really that I see. Is that
hmm
I think.
hmm Absolutely right. So you would run for your camera. It's very interesting because we want. What do people do? Some of these UFO stories, right? We have the video of the UFOs because people ran to grab their cameras. And even in this example with this chupacabra in Mississippi, same idea, right? The people, they took a video of this animal, and now there are videos in iPhones and smartphones and video cameras everywhere. So it's very easy to take a quick video of something, and next thing you know, it's on the internet, right? It takes 10 seconds for something to go from being on a camera to being watched by millions of people, you know. So it's an interesting point, guys. Sometimes I think people would be better. I mean, what can we do, guys, to fight misinformation? That was my next question for you guys. Sometimes we read about these things. We read about these monsters or UFOs and extraterrestrial stuff, when really the reality is much more sad, right? The reality is these animals, for example, they need help. They need veterinary care. They need to go to a doctor, right? And we need to take care of them because otherwise, if they have disease, maybe the disease can spread to people. Who knows, right? The disease can spread to other animals. It can cause a big problem. So How can we fight this misinformation, guys? We're in the 21st century. We're in the age of information, but people are still thinking people are still scared of chupacabras and dragons and issies and killins and all this other stuff, right? And ghouls and those other animals, right? I mean, Heidi, how can we fight misinformation? What do you think is the best way?
The best way is not to spread these news, and if we would do this, it must be in the context of that's the wrong news. Yeah, but some of the stories of mythical things such as ghoul is none. It's none. It's mythical. No one believe in it anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So if it's in the news, it will be as a joke or a story, not a real thing. But most of the time when somebody tell me such a things, I will tell him I don't believe this. There should be a trick in this, or someone add some spices to the news.
Exactly.
I call so to make it more to get the eyes look at him and to hear from
get
him.
attention.
So most of the time, most of the time there will be an additions to the news to make it more more interesting or something like this. So most of the things will be lies, not true.
News is the best kind of news is news that is sensational, right? We say this word in English, sensational. It means, oops, I can't spell today. Sensational means, it makes you, it's emotional. It gives you, oh my God, we found a UFO. Next thing you know, the magazine that says we found a UFO is selling like crazy, right? Or everybody is going and buying that magazine because there's something amazing, something sensational, something different that they're reporting, right? And so there are many magazines out there that all they do is publish sensational news, right? We call them tabloids in English. If you read a tabloid has fake news. None of the news is true, right? They'll say something like Barack Obama has divorced his wife, Michelle Obama, right? And they're going to show pictures that maybe the two people, Barack and Michelle, are angry at each other. Maybe some photo from 10 years ago that they were just angry, normally angry, at somebody else or at something. They're going to put those photos on the cover, right? They're going to design the news to be sensational, to be fake, right? Just to get people to buy their newspaper, And it's a difficult thing. Tabloids are very dangerous if you think that they're serious.
Yeah, I remember that in Egyptian journalist who wrote a fake story about monster wolf in one of the cities of Cairo, or the streets of Cairo. He said, I wrote it from my imagination because the editor wants a sensational articles or news. Then the society interact with this news, and the press start writing, and nobody can capture this monster, and the president of that city has been fired, and a new one come, and he was clever. He killed a dog and said, we have captured and killed that monster.
Oh wow!
And the journalist said I was lying, or it was faked. But how the society interact with these news is so stupid, or I'm not sure. Maybe there's you feel it's not the 19th century, the 91st century.
This is the 21st century, and people should be more aware of things like that, right? It's sad that we're not. Sometimes we don't do this.
Yes.
It's great. Monster. Poor dog, though. That dog that was killed for no reason, right? They just killed the dog for no reason to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ken, what do you think we can do to fight misinformation?
Yeah, and right after the earthquake or the nuclear power accidents, and a lot of misinformation spread
Mm-hmm.
on the internet, and or kind of Twitter and on the Twitter I found some people believed to get rid of radiation. How can I say iodine.
Iodine, uh-huh.
Iodine spill is effective. So some mouthwash has iodine. So it's a very widespread rumor on the internet. So drinking that mouthwash is helpful.
Oh, wow.
So, but actually, it's quickly denied on the Yahoo News or on inside Twitter or something like that. So you checking several media is helpful for misleading the information. And tabloid definitely, and it's not trustworthy. And some internet sites like it's not trustworthy, but on the Twitter, such kind of misinformation and correcting misinformation, such kind of vital action was happening on Twitter at that time,
Mm-hmm. And
or
it's
in
crazy.
homepage as well, in the kind of
Yeah.
media, mass media too.
And it's crazy, that they have all of these different things that, you don't even, the sensational news will sell, right? Regardless of whether or not the information is fake or if it's real, right? Because it's exciting. People love to read tabloids. They will never get unpopular, I think. Sensational news, right? Uh, and Mariella, last but not least, what do you think is the best way to fight sensational news and these fake articles, misinformation? How do we fight misinformation?
Um, I want to be honest. The
Sure.
gossip are very fun, but we should not give them much time to this. In Mexico, the magazines have too much
Mm-hmm.
gossips about of all topics, about of legends, about of uh, performance actress, about of chupacabras, etc.
Yeah.
But it's real. The truth, it's sometimes major of the fiction.
Mm-hmm.
This is real.
Yeah. It's sometimes I think the truth is it's difficult to separate the truth from the fiction when there's so much of both in people's normal uh, daily life, right?
The, the, the
Because
truth the truth exceeded the real life much times.
hmm hmm
So we can to find enjoy in all these tales, but maybe other times we can to use better our time, maybe learning English, for example.
yeah, there are better ways to spend our time, right? I think it's fun once in a while, right? You read a story, you read a book about mythology, and wow, these people, this culture has so many interesting things. For example, Indian culture, Mexican culture, history, ancient cultures of many parts of the world have amazing history, amazing mythology and folklore, right? These kinds of things. But people shouldn't get obsessed by these things, right? I mean, really, there are so many more important things that we can focus on, right? And also, of course, to get our news from trustworthy sources, right? Getting your news from a source that is a real source, not some fake tabloid newspaper or some fake website. You know, I think those are good ways to think about the news as well, or to think about information as well. Yeah, I agree with you guys, absolutely. So guys, before we leave, I just wanted to quickly review the topics that we talked about today. So we talked about these mythological animals, the chupacabra and all these other things. But at the beginning of the class, we were looking at the third conditional, right? And the third conditional we use when we are talking about regret about something in the past, right? And the construction is we use if plus a subject plus had and a past participle, then we use the subject would have, and then another past participle. So if I had known the Chupacabra was fake, I would not have bought 200 guns from my house, right? Something crazy like that, right? I would not have bought all these weapons for my family, right? Crazy things. In the U.S., people buy lots of weapons. And you know one of the craziest things that's happening now is a lot of people, I don't know if it's for fun or if it's just their idea, they believe that zombies will come and take over the world one day, right? There's this idea that the zombie apocalypse is happening, right? So you have movies like World War Z with Brad Pitt, right? This guy goes out and the United States, the world is covered in zombies. Oh my God, World War Z, right? So people are preparing for the zombie apocalypse. They're buying guns, they're buying weapons. I don't know what they're doing, but it's very true. It's the age of the zombies now, guys. Unfortunately, I don't know. I don't know what's gonna happen.
That's good.
Yeah, I know. So anyway, guys, any other questions about anything that we're talking about, or anything that we discussed today? Animals, mythological. Yeah.
What does it pronounce this word I posted? Kind of.
Iodine.
Iodine. Okay.
Iodine is an element, actually, Ken. So it's a halogen. It's a halogen chemical. So it is I believe it's poisonous.
Yes, that's why that drinking much water was kind of thing dangerous, and it's not. Yeah, and but iodine can be used, to prevent radiation accumulate in our throat. So iodine pill for that purpose is effective, but drinking much water kind of iodine kind of thing is can be dangerous.
Yeah, I think the iodine, if you have a lot of iodine in your system, it can mess with your thymus gland. Your thymus gland sits right here in your neck. The thymus gland is affected by iodine, I think, iodine poisoning or something like that. Yeah, so it's not something that we should take lightly when it comes to our health, especially drinking something that has chemicals in it. Right. Absolutely. But no, that's a great question, guys. Or that's a great question, Ken.
I have.
Yeah, go ahead, Marielle, of course.
One.
Yeah.
It's about of other topic.
Sure.
Can I find this video in YouTube later? Because maybe it's useful to hear to myself or.
This video right now that we're listening to, or that we're making, this class.
Exactly.
You would have to go to my YouTube channel. My YouTube channel is just search my name. Honestly, if you search YouTube and my name, then you should be able to find my YouTube channel. Let me see if I can actually find it for you.
Okay.
And I'll put the link in the chat window. Yeah, and I think you should be able to find the channel, and then when you go to my YouTube page, you will be able to find all of the classes are actually there. So when you find my channel, just go to the channel, and you can find every video that I've ever done for Colingo is on there.
Yeah, I think also, Farhan, there's on Colingo, the page of the class will have this video there.
Oh, okay, fantastic. So you can find the video on the Colingo website also.
Yes, it's easy. There's a page for each class, and in this class now the live broadcast will be there, and when the class finished, it will be recorded there.
Okay, awesome, fantastic.
With the chat also, the chat session, the chat messages will be there also.
Fantastic. That's great. That's great to know, guys. Thanks, Heidi. That's great. Any other questions, guys, about any of this stuff?
No.
No.
Alrighty, guys. So I have another class right now. I'm actually teaching a music class for the first time. So if you guys are interested, you can join. Otherwise, I'll see you guys soon.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Take care, guys.
Bye-bye.
Thanks.
It's called a third conditional.
Third conditional. Okay.
Yeah. So before in the last class we looked at the second conditional. This one is the third conditional. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So there's a little bit of difference between those two types, right? Heidi, do you have any questions?
No, but a comment.
Sure.
What the conditionals for one of my weaknesses. Most of the time when I speak, I know the rules, but most of the time I will use the first conditional, even for the when I want to say the second and third for the function of the when the situation is needs to use the second and third conditionals.
No,
For
it's understandable.
yeah, for most of the time, I use the first conditional even in the wrong situation.
Yeah, you know, it happens. It happens. The conditionals are actually, we use them subconsciously in English, right? Native speakers, we don't really realize when we are using which type. I myself didn't know what was first, second, or third until I started teaching and really learning this stuff myself, right? Native speakers, we don't really know what we are saying until we, you know, maybe make a mistake and somebody tells us. We use the word if, and then we use any subject, right? If I, if you, if he, if she, and then we say had. If I had, okay? And then we use a past participle, which is the form of a verb, like for the verb know, it's known. For the verb eat, it's eaten, right? This is an advanced class, so we're actually looking at some of the more advanced grammar, right? So we have if, a subject, had, and then a past participle, right? And then in the second part, we have the subject again, and then would have, and then another past participle. So it's very focused on the past participle, this construction, right? If I had known that you were sick, I would have visited you, right? Known and visited are both past participles. The rest of the sentence is pretty normal. If the subject had, then again the subject would have, past participle, right? So any questions, guys, on this, on the beginning, the construction of this third conditional before we move on?
What is the name of this construct?
The past, when we are sorry about something that happened in the past. So there's a special construction, there's a special way that we use it, but generally it is used when we are talking about something in the past that we are sorry about, that we want to express regret, right? So one way that we can think about this, for example, is I can say to somebody, right? Let's say somebody had somebody was sick, right? Somebody suddenly fell very sick, and I had no idea that they were sick, right? When I see them, what can I say to them? I can say something like, "Hey, if I had known that you were sick, I would have come and said hello to you. I would have visited you," right? If I had known that you were sick, I would have visited you, right? So it's, I feel bad. I'm sorry that I didn't know, right? As a result, I didn't visit that person. So we use that third conditional to talk about things that happened in the past that we don't have any control over, but that we feel sorry about, right? We feel sorry about the situation, why it happened, right? So the construction that we use for the third conditional is actually Celsius.
Uh-huh. So it's
To us, that's
relative.
cold. Yes, absolutely, it's very relative, yeah. For us, it can get extremely cold here, so it's always a challenge for us in the winter, in the cold months. December and January especially are the worst. November is still relatively normal for most places. Yeah. Hey, Mariella, welcome back. Good to see you again. Mariella, are you there?
Hi.
Yeah, just saying
Sorry.
hi. Yeah, no, that's fine. Just saying hi again. Yeah.
Hi.
Good to
Hi
see
again.
you. Yeah. Thanks
Nice
for
to
joining
see you
again.
other time.
Exactly. All right. So we're going to be just waiting a couple more minutes, guys. But before we get started, I wanted to talk a little bit about the lesson for today. So today, in today's lesson, we are going to be looking at the third conditional, actually. So in the last lesson, Mariella, we were looking at the second conditional. In this lesson, we are looking at the third conditional, which we use for specific reasons, actually. The third conditional has a specific reason. And we use it when we are talking about, when we regret something about...
Cool and cold.
Cool and cold, wow, that's Is it normal in the winter? Does it get cold over there?
Yes, it's somehow semi-desert here, called Badia, if you know the word. So it's hot in the noon, and in the morning it will be cold somehow.
Interesting.
Maybe also maybe cold is subjective, or it's not maybe it's not the word, not subjective. It could be cold here, but for us, for example, but for others it's hot.
Possibly, yeah. Well, what's the temperature right now over there?
I think it's about 15.
15.
Celsius.
Wow.
Celsius.
Yeah, 15 Celsius is approximately maybe 55 Fahrenheit, I think, maybe something around 55 Fahrenheit. That's it's a little chilly. It's a little chilly, definitely. Yeah, definitely. But for us, cold. When we say cold, we mean -10, -15